Welcome to the Merick Ulrik podcast. And in this episode, Cleave, Bourbon, and I discuss our favorite books, Part 2. Enjoy. We have a lot of fun. A lot of fun announcements, too. Enjoy the video. All right, and we're back. Finally, Cleave, we're coming back to our podcast. It's been kind of crazy, holidays and whatnot, so we're kind of behind on scheduling these podcasts. And we got a lot of new updates and announcements too. But so how you been, man?
I've been fine.
You gotta be really busy this time of year, Cleave.
I'm very busy. No, it's been pretty fun. I've been riding my buns off, and last week, everybody knows I'm a teacher as well. I've been teaching extra classes because next week is Christmas time, and I won't be teaching a lot of classes because no one will be in them. They'll be at Christmas, so I've been busy.
Yeah,
I've been busy.
Yep, same here. All the Christmas stuff going on and everything for the family and stuff, and all the shopping and all that kind of good stuff. Doing all Santa's busy work, but it's been good. Hey, I got to share with you my new audio book. What'd you think of Ryan Oliver Jones's rendition? I got his name all messed up for a second. He's a cool guy, really good British storyteller, or not storyteller, narrator.
I want to use him for my stuff sometimes. He's good. I like it. I like the way he lives the part. I like that a lot.
Yeah,
or parts, I should say.
Brothers of Chaos Part 2 has just come out in audiobook. It just amazes me how like the ebooks sell a lot better than the audiobooks do right now. So I don't really know how to market it. I got to figure out a way to market the audiobook. But there's such a good rendition. I feel like I enjoyed listening to my own book, which sounds terrible, but it was like it brings it to life in a new way. It's kind of like a production,
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah, it would sound great.
And so when can we expect the new Guns and Grimoires tale?
Well, I'm still working on it. It was going to be before Christmas, but then I got busy on doing other stuff, and so I only got about half written. So I contacted KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, and I moved it to January. So into January we should have it. And I should be finished with it. I didn't want to rush it and then it come out and it'd be horrible.
Yeah.
So believe me, those of you who are waiting on it, it's better that I do it this way because it'll be a better product. It'll be a better book for you to read than if I tried to rush it and just kind of threw stuff together. So it might be frustrating that I moved it a month, but it'll be better in the long run.
Yeah, you did probably the right thing. I'm glad you got to talk to him because I've had a book that's similar problem. I had was doing the 6th book in the John Price series, and I was late by like one day releasing it, and I was trying to edit it, and I kept finding mistakes, and I was like editing it, and it was like, so I didn't tell them, I didn't do what you did, I didn't do the right thing, and so I lost my privilege of doing pre-releases.
I've learned that the hard way. That's why I contacted them. I've done that before, like years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've made that mistake as well.
Well, I got to go see the War of the Roheriem in theaters. I got my tea in here.
Nice.
And yeah, it's good. But I just want to. I don't know if you had a chance to see it, but I'm going to just give a real quick non-spoiler review of it. The War of the Roheriem is set in 200 years before Bilbo finds the ring, and it's in the land of Rohan. And so this movie is a full-fledged movie, but it was animated in kind of an anime style. And I feel like a lot of the Lord of the Rings fandom was not appealing to them. They wanted the real live action because it's the lowest grossing Lord of the Rings film since 1978 when they had the animated Lord of the Rings movie, Fellowship of the Rings. But that was only in 51 theaters, so it's really...
To be honest, I didn't even know it came out, really. I mean, I knew that it was coming. I just didn't know when, and it kind of snuck up on me, so maybe that was one of the reasons, too.
I put it on my calendar. I really love the Lord of the Rings. I'm a Lord of the Rings fan. I will say my girlfriend liked it, too, and it is like Peter Jackson. It's like almost 3 hours. It's like 2 hours and 45 minutes, so it's a good long story. Peter Jackson, I believe. He produced it, but but who animated it? So they had voice actors, and it was animated. It had basically kind of fills in a lot of lore of Rohan, because what's kind of nostalgic about it is like if you love the Lord of the Rings movies, you're kind of put back in the land of Rohan. So if you know Ethereal, I think is the name of the city, Ethereal, and then they had what we would call Helm's Deep in the movie, but it was called something else before it became Helm's Deep. And the story kind of centers around Helm Hammerhand, the king, the first line of kings in Rohan, and his daughter. I want to say her name right. It's not Heather. It's not Hannah. Okay, I can't even think of her name right now, but it's an H name. Hera. I believe it's Hera. And it centers around her. I'm not reading any notes or anything. It's just off the top of my head. And then their family and stuff. And it is really good. You get to see some scenes with the eagles.
Nice.
I don't want to give away any spoilers.
Yeah, I want to see
but there is some. They throw in some Lord of the Rings-esque, the Ring stuff, teasers in there. But you don't have any of the major stars in the movie like Gandalf or Legolas or Gimli or anybody like that. It's just a new storyline, and of course all the humans that were in the Lord of the Rings had not been born yet. So this is like a 200 years before Bilbo Baggins. So parts of the movie was kind of slow for me because maybe I wanted to get into the movie as much as I could. It was weird. We went to the theater, and we went a week after it released. We were the only ones in the theater. We were at the back of the movie. Really, it was, but it was kind of cool. We could have sat anywhere we wanted. We could just moved around. But anyways, it was cool.
Well, I think some of the movie-going stuff, ever since the pandemic, has been tough.
Yeah, probably so. But I feel like it's gotten better.
Well, I hope so, because I love theaters. I don't want them to go away.
I went to go see not Moana 2 with my daughter because she wanted to see it, and it was sold out for that. The kids went out to see that movie. I'm not a fan of that, but you know what? That's a kids movie. I feel like they're gonna keep making those movies because basically the way they made Moana 2, they could just make as many as one. Oh, well, actually there is a spoiler in that one too. I don't want to. I'll just ruin the movie. She dies at the end, so she's a ghost or something. I don't know. She becomes a. She becomes like the other guy. She's like a demigod or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not really sure that our fan base would even care that you spoiled that.
Yeah, I totally spoiled that movie.
They probably won't go watch unless they have kids as well.
Yeah, but if you have kids, it was good. Kids like it, I think, and I think it's a very girly movie too. So
hey, I saw that
my stepdaughter's trying to like that movie.
I saw that Romulus, Alien Romulus is out on like one of the streaming channels now, and I still have not watched it.
Have you watched it?
I need to watch it. I know you've done a review on it here. I need to go ahead and watch it. Not that we're going to rehash a review or anything, but I haven't done that yet. And I saw that it was on there just like the other night, but I've been so busy writing.
Yeah. We saw some other stuff that's really been crazy, but I don't want to go into it. There's some movies that I've seen that I thought would be fun to review, but you haven't got a chance to see it. I don't want to spoil anything. But yeah, we've watched a few.
Speaking of
movies
spoiling things, should we tell them about our plans?
Oh yeah, it's not really spoiling. It's just we decided, Cleave and I, since we're such cool guys, that we're gonna start a new channel. And you want to tell them more about it, or we tentatively want to call it Cleave and Merick Take Over the World. That's just a preliminary title. But if you guys have a better name for it, but we're gonna have a new channel, so we're just gonna be teaming up, and so we'll keep our regular channels. Like Cleave Bourbon has a YouTube channel, and we're on the Merick and Ulrik podcast right now.
The reason why we started thinking about it is because I was going to start a podcast as well, and then we thought, well, why don't we just combine? Merick's still going to have his podcast with his BattleTech and stuff like that on there, but on the other channel, we're going to implement some of mine. So I'll be hosting sometimes, and we'll do what I call flop at the box. There's a ton of movies out there that are cult classics. An example would be like Shawshank Redemption, that are hugely popular, but when they were released, they flopped. And so that's going to be my segment. We're going to start having flop at the box. And so there's a couple of things we're going to have little different things in our... So it's going to be a podcast channel that we're going to be doing different podcasts, different ones it was hosting. And so this channel will not be going away. I just need to, make sure that everybody understands that. But it'll change up a little bit.
Yeah, I hope the 40 subscribers we have right now stay in there. Hey, but I will say this, though. I'm really excited to have you help edit, too, as I'm getting tired of editing videos. That's sometimes why they don't come out for a long time, just because it takes away from writing and stuff, too. So both of us will be able to edit videos, and it's really fair because I think Cleave and I both enjoy doing this format, but instead of it just being on my channel, it's going to be on our new channel. That way we can both really invest in it and have ownership of it. I just think it's fair, and it's fun. So I don't like doing podcasts by myself. It's just kind of boring. It's okay, but it's just, I like to do interviews too. That we'll still do interviews and stuff like that. But if you have any ideas, any name ideas, please throw them at us, because I really want to. If there's a better name for our podcast, let us know
below.
Yep, in the comments. Yes. Yeah, so I'm super excited about it. So that's going to be coming up in 2025, and also we're going to be going to a Comic-Con in March. Where's that located?
It's
at?
in a little town called Borger, Boger, Texas. It's in the Texas Panhandle near Amarillo.
Yeah, and so that's going to be kind of cool, and hopefully maybe we can start doing more Comic-Cons and things like that in the future if it works out. If it just works out in the whole strategy of things. We'd love to do that, and maybe if you guys are out and about, come meet us in person. We'd love that. It'd be kind of cool.
Yes.
We might do a remote podcast from there too. We'll probably do one remote from there as well.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Maybe we'll have to get our own logo for this. Maybe we could be superheroes, and we could have
Yeah, we'll have one, and then we need I guess little titles for reviews. We'll have the review stuff, one thing, music and movies or something, and then.
Yeah.
Flop at the box.
If I pose like this, maybe it'll show up in the thumbnail.
Oh, does that drive you crazy when you on your YouTube you see the people that are like, why are they making those weird faces? It's stupid.
Clickbait, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, because I follow this one dude who does him and his wife are live out in Alaska or somewhere like that, and so they're off the grid, and they build this cabin, and they chop wood on the video, and they're sawing lumber and milling their own lumber and fishing.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Outdoor and the thumbnails always have a picture of his wife bending over in a skimpy outfit, but that's barely any part of the thing. It's just the thumbnails have her in a hot tub or something.
I know who you're talking about. It's you do realize that they have an OF, right?
What?
They have an OF.
Oh, I did not know that, but that makes sense now. That makes
you can find them.
Oh, wow. That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, it's a whole different thing. That's why I called it OF, because everybody understands what I mean.
Yes, we know what you mean. I mean, I do.
Yeah, they have another channel.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know that, but I'll have to figure that out later. But I really don't go for that kind of stuff because I kind of, but that's for somebody else. But yeah.
Are you blushing?
That is all good. No, because I can't pay for stuff like that.
Oh no, I would never
contribute.
It's crazy. I would never do that.
There's some dudes out there will be like, yeah, man.
It's like, who are these people? The thing I don't like about that kind of stuff is, you'll get a subscription or something. The way they get you in there is they give you do a subscription, but that's just to get in the door, and then any kind of content in there is behind a paywall, so it's not worth it at all.
This is really just
we're off on a tangent.
Random. Totally right. Yeah, so we were talking about absinthe before the show, and we can maybe talk about that for a second. But yeah, so nobody knows her, but my girlfriend's brother-in-law just got divorced because apparently he was paying an OnlyFans model that happened to be his niece by marriage.
Oh,
so that was kind of
gosh!
So the wife got mad and ended it.
Rightly so.
Yeah, but there's that is just the tip of the iceberg with their dysfunctionality. So I mean
I'm no prude, but that's pretty bad.
that's crossing the line here. Yeah. So I mean, she was an adult. She wasn't
But still, it's weird.
But and he'd been paying for that for years, and she didn't know it. But anyway, so but there's a lot of other crazy stuff.
He's just supporting the family.
Supporting the family. All right, so what thing we were talking about, and we're going to go on to our actual segment where we talk about books that we love, or books and series that we love. Well, that's going to be this is the pre-podcast banter, so you're going to get the real podcast in a minute. But I'm wearing this hat that was a gift to me, and I was looking it up, and I was like, what is this about? Delirium. And it's got a Santa Claus hat with a pink elephant, and so I looked up. The pink elephant is actually a symbol. It has been a medical symbol for people. They call it seeing pink. It's when you're having the DT DTs. Or
Yeah,
whatever
delirium tremens.
Delirium tremors. So you're having alcohol withdrawals and you're seeing a pink elephant. So, but apparently this brand with the pink elephant with the hat is a brand of Belgium beer. So it's kind of like backwards. So it's called. I looked it up. Delirium tremens.
Yeah.
And there's actually something else I want to do in a future podcast. Maybe I shouldn't say it right now because somebody's going to copy me, but I don't know if they copy me or whatever. But there's this place around town. They have this 86 beer challenge, and what you do is you drink. I mean, you don't do it in one night. I mean, I don't think because I think that'd be illegal. But you drink. I mean, only Andre the Giant could do it.
Oh
He's not
yeah,
around
yeah.
anymore.
I know. I've heard the stories.
But there are 86 different beers from around the world, and then if you do it, you get your name on a plaque. And then you get a special mug that you can't buy, that you get to every time you come in, they give it to you. It's like an old beer stein. So I think I would be a fun side video for a podcast where I do some beer reviews, and then maybe do like a time lapse video of me drinking them because that would be too boring if you had to watch me drink the beer after beer.
We can definitely have some cool stuff like that and have some different things. I'd join in on that. That'd be fun.
It'd be fun. I mean, it would take a long amount of time to get all 86 beers. That might be like 5 beers at a time, and then 5 beers, or 10, or I don't know. But so that's what this hat was about. But we were looking at it up, and we were talking about this weird drink that people take. And my girlfriend was talking about how some people go drink this drink, and we couldn't think of the name of it for a while. I knew what it was, but I couldn't think of the name of it. And so some people turn their whole lives around or have these hallucinogenic moments that give them surreal conclusions to life. Like some people are way into that kind of stuff, like mushrooms and stuff like that. I've never been, but maybe that would balance me out. I don't know, but we were talking about absinthe. This is called absinthe. So apparently they sell it in other countries. Is it still illegal in the United States?
It's legal now, but I don't know if it's the actual real absinthe because real absinthe is made with an infusion of wormwood, which is what makes you hallucinate.
It's kind of dangerous.
And it's
probably
in my. I don't know if anybody knows this, but my degree, my master's degree is I specialize in 18th and 19th century Gothic literature. I specialized in literature. Anyway, and they talk about absinthe a lot. It's chasing the green dragon.
Chasing the green dragon. That would be a whole other podcast.
What you have is you have to mix it with water, and what you do is you have like a glass, and it has a little spoon over it with a sugar cube. And you drip the water over the sugar cube, and it goes down into the absinthe, and it turns the color from like a green to a pearly green, and that's what you drink it. That's how you drink it.
Does it have alcohol?
Yeah.
Is it alcohol?
Yeah, it has alcohol in
it's
it.
Alkalized.
I've had it. Of course, I had to try it, and I did it. And of course, to me, it tasted like Scope, like the mouthwash.
God. That's kind of rough.
Yeah, it kind of has a minty flavor. Well, the one I drink anyway.
Yeah, so I haven't had any new books in a long time, actually, since the Wardrooms of Kant, and I'm got like 3 books I'm working on right now, and I need to settle on one and kind of get it done, So I have Ultimate Fantasy 2 that I want to do. I got a new John Price book. So maybe it's 2 books that I'm working on, not 3. I'm over. There's another one. Oh yeah, the BattleTech book. I'm working on the BattleTech book, and the BattleTech book's the hardest one because it's got lore. So I can't just make up something, and then some BattleTech fan is going to be like, "That couldn't happen," or "That didn't happen in 3055. That was until 3085." So I have to get all my facts. So like when I write something or I'm thinking about something, I try to, what was the planet that this was on? I got to look that up and all kinds of stuff. So that's kind of going slow. And it's going to be a fan fiction that I'm going to give away because I can't legally sell it because I'm not authorized to produce unless they just pick me up. But I hear. Have you read Brothers of Chaos Part 1, an epic coming-of-age dark fantasy tale by Merick and H. Ulrik? Vandrin of House Glenclair faces insurmountable odds fighting against the corrupt Melborians. He will rely on an unexpected friendship with an elf named Zankadin Umbadin and his alluring sister Zyla. Together they will face the will of the Blood Queen, Empress Ash Akzana, and a treacherous plot of a beautiful young blood mage named Lilith. This series is epic fantasy, sword and sorcery, mild dark fantasy with some adult situations. You may find it on Amazon Kindle Unlimited, audiobooks with Audible, And you can buy the whole series in print, Brothers of Chaos by Merick N.H. Ulrik. Have you read Red Mage Ascending, The Mage of Blood Magic, in the Tournament of Mages Book 1 by Cleave Bourbon? The servant girl has a secret, and she's hiding it in plain sight. Hannah works for a well-to-do family who treats her well, but something is not quite right. The servant girl doesn't act like a servant. She speaks with multiple languages, including High Elvish. She is a skilled musician and a talented artist. There is also another talent, but its secret Hannah guards closely. She can use blood magic. She is hiding because she knows if she is found out, she will have to fight in the Tournament of Mages, a contest where she will be pitted against 5 other mages with different forms of magic. She has left everything behind, her family, her friends, and the one secret she dares not reveal. Now available on Kindle, audiobooks on Audible, in hardcover and paperback. Find it online on Amazon Kindle, Barnes & Noble's, iBooks, Kobo, and wherever you buy good books. This book is by Cleave Bourbon. Buy it now. Alrighty, and we're back. So we're talking about books that we love individually. So you want to go first, or you want me to go first? Cleave? Alrighty, what you got today?
Of course, since I am, my master's degree is in Gothic literature, the first Gothic literature novel from Horace Walpole, The Castle of Otranto. It's not very thick, and yeah, it says used because this was a college book that I used in college.
I love used books.
I used it in college. Yeah, I love used books too. Half-price books, my favorite. But anyway, this is very melodramatic. It was published in 1764. So it's from the 18th century, and it's considered the first Gothic novel. What happened was Horace Walpole was remodeling his house, and he had a nightmare. And he wrote the nightmare down. And so it's very melodramatic. It's like the women in it are all damsel in distress, and they're always like, "Oh no, it's a ghost," and they faint and stuff like that. It's way over the top.
It's got to be fun to get back into like a different time. Does it feel dated?
No, not really. I mean, it's just really, I don't know how to explain it. It's like really over the top. It's like take Gothic and like crank it up to 10.
How is the difference in vocabulary that you had back then? What time period are we talking about?
It's 1800s, so you're going to have words like countenance and visage, and he had a smile upon his countenance and things like that, which is stuff we don't use anymore. It's got a lot of antiquated things you have to kind of get past, but you know. Yeah,
that's cool though. That's it could definitely add to your vocabulary or something like that. You might bring countenance.
It's not quite as highbrow as Edgar Allan Poe, because he was writing Gothic literature here. I mean, he was writing here, and the regular readers were like here, and so he was writing way above their heads. Why am I not making money? Because you're way above everybody's head.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, what's really popular to the masses is not necessarily what is the highest, what you would call like highest form of, I don't know, literature, you might say, sometimes. I don't want to cut that book off, but I can segue to one of. It's not really a book, but one of the things I really grew up loving to read was Conan the Barbarian comics. And so there's a guy who was the opposite of Edgar Allan Poe, the original
Robert E.
guy
Howard.
who wasn't the writer of these. He was what would be Pulp Fiction today. I didn't read the old books. I need to read some of his books. I know you've probably read some of his books. I haven't read his books. I just read the comic books. I used to buy them like every month. I used to get a Conan the Barbarian comics, and they just had a little bit of that, sword and sorcery with the damsel with the the low cut bikini on, and then they had that was Red Sonja, but then they had I think some cool stuff. It's always just fighting people and going through some crazy challenge. I remember there's one that I really loved, and I think it was called The Purple Plague, and it was where everybody was getting this purple plague, and they're turning like into zombies and dying and stuff, and coming back as zombies. I believe in them. They did, and so like Conan, if you got it all the way, you die and turn into a zombie or whatever. I mean, they call it something else, but and there's this one guy who wouldn't he was around everybody, but he wasn't getting turned, and like, why are you not turning? And this guy just happened to like to eat raw meat, and so if you ate raw meat like beef, not like cannibalism, I don't think, but you wouldn't get the purple plague. So everybody started just tearing into raw meat and eating raw meat. I thought that was one of the most memorable ones I saw. But he was always trying to get gold or something, or fighting some enemies and talking about Samaria and Crom.
So were they written by Robert E. Howard, or were they?
No, definitely not. It was way after his death. These are like from the 80s and 90s. And so, yeah, so I really enjoyed that series. And that's one of the things I think that got me wanting to be into fantasy. Although, I mean, it is a type of fantasy, and there's some sorcery in there, but mostly it's just kind of like, what would you call that? It's just sword and sorcery, but without a lot of sorcery. There were some sorcerers in there, but a lot of just barbarian stuff, trying to get gold, trying to fight his enemies. Yeah, that's where I got into fantasy. I think was one of the first things. After I did read the Lord of the Rings, but I just loved collecting them. In fact, I would like to collect them again. I don't even know what happened to my comics.
Yeah,
I don't have them anymore.
I had a lot of comics like that too, that are, you move from place to place and you lose things.
Yeah, I heard that like graded comics don't even sell very well anymore. Like I was watching this whole thing on podcast where like they have these graded comics places where you can get your comics put into a block, and then they have them like guaranteed whatever, a 10 or a 7 or whatever. And but I think comics are meant to be read. I think the big collectors that collect them like to read them, Mm-hmm. But it's kind of hard to keep a mint condition Spider-Man 1 if you're reading it all the time. So I don't know, but yeah, that's another thing too. I think there's only a few brands that are probably like really worth money. I mean, if you go back and collect Conan, I bet you can get most of them except for the first one for pretty cheap. First 2 or 3, because really a number 2 is not as worth as nearly as much as a number 1. Yeah, it's just all for. And that's another thing. I've never been one to collect things that are like not usable, like guitars. Like I want to play a guitar, I would never want to put it in a case and just like look at it. It would have no use value to me, I guess. I mean, if you have $1 million, you want to buy Jimi Hendrix guitar, that's great. But anyways. I'm digressing. So what else you got for us, Cleave? That was kind of a short one.
I have this book called, and it's from Barnes & Noble, as you can probably see here. As Wide as Popcorn Pop. It's a book that talks about all the stuff in food, like who Duncan Hines was. He was a real person. But Betty Crocker was not a real person, but it tells how she became part of that. It's you can probably still find it at Barnes & Noble. I don't know. But it's got a lot of food stuff in it. It's got, how all the places like Pizza Hut and all that were invented, how they came about, and it has a lot of food stuff in it. Let's see, why doesn't honey need to be refrigerated? It has a bunch of stuff like that in here.
Yeah, why doesn't it need to be refrigerated?
Honey can last forever. It does not go bad.
Well, I mean, it's the bees like keep it outside and it's in room temperature.
Yeah, honey does not go bad. I mean, you can have there's honey that's been found in pots and like, mummies' tombs that's still edible.
I've noticed that sometimes honey kind of turns to like the sugar.
Yeah, all you do is put it in the microwave and heat up a little bit. It turns back into honey. That's it.
Oh, well, I did not know that. But I recently, talking about honey, I know this is a weird segue about that, but like I've been taking a spoonful of honey and cayenne pepper. It's really good for you. Gets your heart.
What is the origin of Worcestershire sauce or Worcestershire sauce?
That's a good question.
It says what famous French mustard was the creation of an Englishman? Stuff like that. It's just really cool stuff like that.
That's some really great stuff. It's something I'd want to leave in my bathroom when I have like these deep thought moments.
It's like, why? Who was Duncan Hines? I can tell you who Duncan Hines was.
Yeah.
He was a guy that was a salesman for that, and he ran around and with a lot of with recipes and stuff, and people started picking up his recipes and been like, "Hey, this is great." And so, originally, one of the food people they bought his name and bought his recipes, and that's Duncan Hines. But Betty Crocker was invented.
You know that guy who Ray Kroc. Yeah. It turned out he stole like McDonald's from the McDonald brothers. But he was the guy who went out and sold like hamburger making machines and stuff, and milkshake frosting.
Did you see that movie Founder that has Michael Keaton in it?
Oh yeah, they pretty much torched that guy as far as like a kind of a bad guy. I mean, like, but you know what? I mean, it's like, it is kind of like what do you call it? Like inspiring in some way. Like somebody can be kind of a failure his whole life, or worked hard, and then like he's in his 60s and he's like, I think I'll start a chain of. Yeah.
Yeah.
So really, how he made money, how McDonald's makes money too, is the corporation. I mean, is the real
Yeah.
estate. They're selling all these.
Yeah, it's
so
crazy.
It's kind of
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah.
but the McDonald brothers came up with the Speedy service or whatever, and then he kind of just took it
Yeah.
and ran with
Just
it.
stole it. He like gave him a handshake. Yeah, I'm gonna pay y'all something one day. Nope. Write it a contract, man. I was like,
Yeah.
golly.
I remember
That's pretty
it might have been in the movie, but I remember they were saying like, "What you change the name? Why'd you keep the McDonald's name? Why'd you steal it from him?" And he was like, "Because would you go to a restaurant called Croc instead of McDonald's?"
Crocs. Hey, look, there's Riley. You doing all right, Riley? Okay. Well, we're having a podcast right now. Unless it's an emergency, let me know.
Oh my God.
All right. Sorry, that's my daughter. She
My
peeked out
cat,
through the curtain there.
Shadow, who's a black cat, she's too big to crawl under the door. Somehow she just managed to get herself under the door. She squeezed under it.
Yeah. My dad's door is kind of like really, his exterior door is kind of like really like loose. So the cats sometimes can just like push it open. It's really kind of weird. Yeah, they got so many cats. All right, going on to these books things now here. I want to talk about another book that that I didn't talk about last week. I hope I didn't because I don't remember. I don't think I did. Is BattleTech, The Grey Death Legion. This was how I got exposed to BattleTech. That's why I like my BattleTech videos. And The Grey Death Legion by William H. Keith. I don't have the physical book in front of me, and it's going to be right here on the screen. But I love this story. I mean, I think somebody who doesn't like BattleTech could love this. The first book's really the best book, but they kind of continue it on. And it's based in, I think like 3025 during the Succession Wars. And so if you know BattleTech. But what I love about this is it's got the basic, the basic elements of the hero's journey in some ways. Hey there, cat. What's his name?
She
Shadow
squeezed
cat.
under the door somehow. She managed to get herself under there. Shadow.
Oh, golly. But talking about decision, the first book in the series of the Saga of the Grey Death Legion, this is Pulp Fiction again, is Decision at Thunder Rift. And what I think it has the what was I saying? The hero's journey in it is because it starts off with a horrific murder of his father and their people, and he kind of has become an orphan. He's kind of orphaned, but yet he's an adult, like a young adult, like 18 or something like that. And so he's a trained mech warrior, but now he has nothing. He has no mechs, nothing. He's living in a hostile world, and he has to figure out a way to survive and somehow get revenge on the people that killed his family. And so that's kind of like the makings to me of the hero's journey. I don't know parts of it. Maybe you could tell me no, because you probably know more about the hero's journey. But he starts off like an orphan, and he has to come back from nothing, and he slowly, collectively builds a mercenary company called the Grey Death Legion. And so, which doesn't really make sense to me, because his name is Carlson Gray. What's his name? Grayson Carlisle is his name. So Grayson Carlisle, because it's Gray, and his middle name was Death, and so that doesn't really make any sense. So they call it the Grey Death Legion, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. But I love the book, I love the story, and it really gets you into the whole science fiction genre of, kind of a, I guess you would call it is like a space opera, but it's kind of like the world is kind of a, what do you call that? What is dystopian? And you got a dystopian situation where he's on this hostile planet with a very powerful enemy, and there's some subterfuge political plots going on. So I really love this series, and it got me into BattleTech, and you get into the fantasy of powering up in these huge mechanical machines that shoot bolts of lightning and machine guns and plasma cannons and can do like terrific damage on your enemies and stuff, and can jump around and almost fly. So yeah, that got me kind of into it. So that's what got me into BattleTech. That was that series. And I've read a lot of other series after that, and this is like 80s science fiction, so it is a little dated kind of, but the whole game is kind of dated in a sense, but it's fun.
Oh, my cat.
So I really love that.
Cat.
The cat.
Well, normally I don't let her come in because of this reason. She's jumping up on me and stuff. But she's all excited. But she managed to squeeze under the door. There's only about that much room under the door. So this cat managed to squeeze
It's a ninja.
She is a ninja
She's
cat.
A ninja cat.
But anyway, sorry. Hopefully it's not being too distracting.
That's all right. Yeah, it's very distracting. But it's okay.
It probably is. You're probably right. She's distracting me.
Yep. So, but so that's the Saga of the Grey Death Legion, and Keith actually wrote a lot of other books, mostly in that, and this was probably one of the most beloved mercenary companies, the Grey Death Legion, and they do a bunch of, and they do probably have a lot too much plot armor.
Yeah.
But later on they do like a bunch of crazy stuff, and it always works out for them until it doesn't. And I think they killed off the Grey Death Legion around the time of the clan invasion, if you know BattleTech. But they try to bring it back with his son, but Catalyst or it was Catalyst or it was the FASA. They're like, no, we're not bringing back the Grey Death Legion. I thought it would have been cool if the Grey Death Legion continued with his son, because his son is in some of the later novels. Like, so I read the Grey Death Legion saga is Decision at Thunder Rift, Mercenary Star, which I liked Mercenary Star a lot, and there was also a love interest in there between Grey and his the girlfriend that becomes his wife. She's kind of crazy too. Like at first, she's his prisoner because she was part of this bandit company. It was just kind of weird. But what's her name? Lisa. Anyways, she was forced into service by these pirates, space pirates. So she was happy to get out of there. So when she explained to him that, hey, I wasn't really wanting to do this, I was forced into because I was a mech warrior for these guys. Anyways, and that she had some of her family that was held hostage.
Well, that's cool. I like the 80s and 90s stuff, and my first epic fantasy that I wrote is kind of in that vein, and so I kind of miss that. I kind of miss, all the gritty. I mean, with all the grittiness and the grimdark and everything they have out there today, I kind of miss the 80s and 90s kind of, just BattleTech kind of stuff like what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The regular story. I guess people kind of got bored with it. I don't know why it kind of. Everybody seems like they have to have, everybody, doing horrible things to each other, and
and there's no good guy.
Everybody's bad.
Evil.
The anti-hero, and
so
you don't know who's going to die next, but everybody will.
I guess that's all the
Game of Thrones stuff,
the Fire and Ice saga. Yeah. But this, anyways, just wrapping that up. That the Grey Death Legion saga is one of my favorite BattleTech series. One of my all-time. I have a soft spot for it. There are some later books that I think William H. Keith wrote, and I was looking up his bio. I'm pretty sure he's dead now because it doesn't say a death, but like he hasn't written anything in like years. He's probably in some nursing home by now,
probably,
or something. I don't know. If William H. Keith is out there, I'd love to have you on the podcast. I don't care how old you are. If you hear me, I love your book. We'd be glad to interview you. Or if you know of him, I would love to. If you're a family member, a son or daughter, I would love to talk to you about him because I do think he's probably passed on because he's pretty old. Just a few. He'd be like in his 90s now.
Heck?
I think
my cat is messing with my.
That cat could be like that demon cat in your book. Never mind.
Yeah, the parademon. She is a little demon. She gets in my cords. I don't let her come in here. This is the reason why. But there's nothing I can do when she squeezes herself under the door like a freaking ninja. And like,
do you want to pause for station excommunication?
Yeah, I get. Yeah, because she's eyeing my. She's still pretty young. She's still a kitten. So.
All right. We're gonna pause for a second, so
Cleave can excommunicate his cat.
Kick Shadow out. Yeah, demon be gone. Okay, all right, we'll be right back.
Dang, she's crazy.
Okay, so we're back. That Shadow has been kicked out of.
She's crazy.
Again. Sorry, had to do that. That's cool. That's all good. Crazy cat. It's all good. So So what's next on your list?
I don't have
favorite book.
I don't have a copy of this. We can probably find it. But it's Dennis McKiernan, Kragan Core. Have you ever heard of it?
Kragan Core. Oh, that sounds really good.
What happened is Dennis McKiernan was a big fan of Tolkien. And he hated that Tolkien never wrote the dwarves going back and taking over Moria. So he wrote his own version of it.
Kagan Core or Kragan Core? Kragan Moore?
Kragan Core? Let's see if I can find it. It's Dennis McKiernan. And I guess I need to look it up so I can make sure that I say the name of the book right. It is. Oh, I think it's with a K. Kragen Core.
Is it 2 words or one?
It's kind of it's a hyphen. Trek. It's Trek to Kragen Core. Kragen Core.
Okay.
It's one of the Silver Call series, book 1. Okay.
Cool.
So it's
again. This is like an 80s.
yeah, it's
or
like
70s
an
book?
80s, 70s or 80s, and it's
Oh, that looks so cool. I want to.
I know this is one I picked this because I thought you would probably like it too. It's Kragen -core. Now what it is he was a huge fan of Tolkien. He's got his own halflings and all that stuff. What he did was he couldn't go and write Lord of the Rings. So what he did was he wrote his version of Lord of the Rings. So Kragen Core is Moria. So what these are is these are dwarves. Kragen Core is these dwarves are going back in like Balin did and taking back Moria. So he wrote his version of that.
Yeah, I mentioned last time Ari Salvador, and he had a book that was in that series. It was called Streams of Silver, and it sounds kind of familiar to that plot.
Yeah.
I wonder if they both had similar
ideas.
Maybe
they both wrote around the same time period, I think, in the 80s and stuff. But this book, it's like
1986.
So, like I said, he went ahead and wrote his own story about the dwarves retaking Moria, but instead of Moria, it's Kragen Core. So these are dwarves reclaiming. So if you love Lord of the Rings, and the reason why I brought it up is because I don't think people might not, since it was in '86, I don't think people are aware of that there's people out there that wrote really great published books about, in the vein of Lord of the Rings,
kind of like fan fiction.
Yeah, kind of like fan fiction.
Not officially. But I might have to listen to that on audio.
I know you'd like, because all the dwarves and the...
Yeah. Wow, I think I would. Really like that stuff.
But yeah, if anybody's out there...
it looks like a Lord of the Rings stuff.
It is Lord of the Rings, basically. It's just, not Tolkien.
Yeah. Not official. Not official.
But yeah, what drew me to it is, like I said, I was like, oh, cool. The dwarves go back and take Moria, is basically what it is.
Yeah. And a lot of people have mentioned Dennis McKiernan to me, and I just was ignorant. I haven't actually read some of his books.
That's book 1, and I think there's 3 books in that series. I'm not really sure. It's been years since I read it, so
yeah,
I need to go back and reread
Dennis McKiernan is still alive?
I don't know. Let's see. There's the first book, and it looks like a different cover than what it looks like an older cover. The one I'm seeing on Amazon. That's a new cover, but it looks like from the time period. But yeah, Buckleburr. He's got Peregrine Fairhill. He's got the names like in Lord of the Rings and everything.
I love that old type fantasy. I say old because it's not really like what's currently being done in fantasy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like it's like kind of the standard barrow that it was like in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
totally.
Like I said, he was a big fan of Tolkien and thought, I wish Tolkien would have written a story about them retaking Moria, and so he wrote it.
Yeah, that would be something cool to watch. Now, talking about I don't know if a transition, I don't know if it's okay. I don't know if I
go ahead.
off, but my other book that's on the series that I really love, and I think I've mentioned to you before, but is I love Joe Abercrombie. It's just the way he writes. I wish I could write like him. He is just so brilliant. He's got this prose of the way he describes. His dialogue's really great. And it's really funny and dark. So I really love the First Law trilogy. Did I talk about it last time?
I don't think so. I don't know.
I can't remember. I hope not, because I repeat myself. But yeah, The Blade itself was just a wonderful book. I really enjoyed The Blade itself. And that was the first book in the series. And it was the first book he ever wrote, and it got published right away. Who does that? He writes a book, and then just gets published immediately. And the book is very... you could tell he's a discovery writer because the plot is not developed at all in the first book, and I think he talks about it, but it's just so entertaining. You're like wanting to go like, well, where's this leading to? Where's this going? And he introduces a lot of different things in that book. real class discrimination. Like there's the poor people, and then there's the people who are aristocrats or good people or people who are like above them, and how they treat the other people like scum, but yet that's just the way it is. And so there's a military, there's some situations going on, and just one of like what's really funny is not funny at all, but like I don't want to do a spoiler of this because it's a really good series, but like one of the main characters, I'm trying to think of his name, who was just good throughout the whole series. I'm really bad at remembering names and stuff, but he was so good. He was a captain in the military, and he turns out just being like, he's a stalwart guy. His sister's a drunk, kind of drunk whore, and she's flirting with this guy who's above his station. And so he's like telling his sister, "You get the hell away from him. You're gonna ruin my career if you get with him." And so this guy who's an aristocrat, guy who got into the military to be a general or whatever, but he's totally untalented, totally, doesn't have the moral or the he doesn't have the strategic value, whatever. He's being forced into being a general because he's comes from a rich family or whatever. And he's fencing and doing all this stuff. He's trying to win this contest. It's really political. Anyways, it's a really great story. I'm just saying it's so entertaining the way Joe Abercrombie writes. And then the main character that really comes to light in this series is called Logan Nine Fingers, and he's called the Bloody Nine. But Logan Nine Fingers, as you might guess, has 9 fingers.
Really?
So, yes, he has 9 fingers, and they call him when something happens to him when he gets into battle. Kind of goes berserker a little bit, but it's like he's demon possessed almost, and they call him the Bloody Nine. And even his friends are kind of like afraid of him. Like they talk to him, but then he's like a regular guy, real caring all the time. And then they look at him, and he doesn't remember a lot of stuff that he does. And so that they talk about it later, talking about how when he comes to Bloody Nine, this guy, he's just like, look out. He's like a terror in battle, and might even kill his friends. He's like so violent, just he doesn't care. And like the dude can suffer like horrible injuries and just keep fighting. And it has just really lovable characters. Like they had one called the Dog Man, and I don't forget what they called him, the Dog Man, because he has this really great sense of smell, and so he's like a scout. And they have all these different characters. And so when it starts out, the Blade itself, I don't want to spoil it, but it's just so good, is Logan Nine Fingers and I forgot the other characters, the core characters, are basically a legion of defeated rebels that were fighting against a different faction. But they've done so much damage to the other side that they're outlaws, and so they can't even surrender because they'll be hanged if they surrender. So they're still out there fighting, doing stuff, but it comes a time when the polite society will accept them back because they need them to fight for them. So there's a whole bunch of different feuds and stuff. So there's the King of the North that they're enemies with, and the South people, the Southland people, they actually have to go to the Southland because they're pretty much exiled because, like, they even try to surrender, and it goes really bad. So when they realize they can't surrender, they have to just stay out in the land, and they're fighting all these monsters and stuff. And then you bring in the wizardry side of it, and the wizard comes about, and the wizard in this story, Baez, they call him they don't call him a wizard, they call him something else. They call him I forget what they call First of the Magi or something like that. First of the Magi. But anyways, I don't want to ruin the series because there's a lot of things I could spoil it. But it's the first book of the series. So the series, the Blade itself, the first law, and it's just grimdark. It is bloody. It is cruel. It is. There's a torturer guy in the story who's like one of the most interesting characters of this character that is he's been tortured really badly, and so he becomes a torturer, which makes no sense. Like, he was a victim of prisoner of war and he was a hero in a way, but he was like a gallant man. But after they tortured him so much, he turned into like this like character that looked like Quasimodo, and like nobody could love him. He's like goes really into detail of his health problems and stuff, and but he becomes a inquisitor, and basically he tortures people to death to get confessions out of him, and that's his job. So like the government people like, hey, he's guilty. Go ahead and get a confession from him, prove that he's guilty. And so he's like, talks to them, and he's like, I got to tell you now, they all confess, so you might as well confess now, kind of type guy. And then they talk of the torturing tools and everything. Oh, you're gonna die, all right, but how you die is up to you.
Yeah, one of those.
You want to be hanged, or do you? How many fingers do you want to have? You know, anyways, but it's such a good story, and that guy actually gets tangled up. Joe Abercrombie weaves a great story. I gotta say, he's probably one of the best of our era right now.
So do you think that people like that who are more traditionally published, do you think that they, since they have time and they have the fan base, that they have time to weave stories like that? Whereas sometimes I wonder if people like us don't have the time to put into them.
Yeah, because
we all have to produce.
Yeah, I was thinking about the same thing. Like, you might push out a 50,000 word, novella, which is more than what I do a lot of times. So I'm doing John Price. John Price is real short, like maybe 10 to 20,000 words, little segments, like short stories that are serials, But I was thinking about that too, because I really have this novel in mind that I want to write. But I mean, like a 250,000 word novel or a 200,000 word novel.
You just kind of have to do it on the side. But then again, you take up time to write that from your other writing. But we're to remain relevant where we are, we have to produce, and so.
Yeah, you gotta have a new release, or your old books aren't even gonna start. They're gonna start selling because you gotta have to find new readers.
So we try. We do our best.
Readers, Yeah, our older readers will like read up everything we've got, and then they're like, okay, well, what do you have for me next? And then you don't want to lose touch with them either. So that's a really good point. And I just want to say, going back to the first Law series, it is grimdark, and I will say I totally love the series. I just want to say the names of the books. It's the Blade itself. It's Before They Are Hanged, which is a great book, really great, and The Last Argument of Kings. And I will tell you why I haven't read any more of Joe Abercrombie, because the ending was so heartbreaking. I just put it
I've
down.
heard that.
And I was like, this is too much. And so, but I might want to go back, because I know I've only read the first 3 books, and they made more books. But he just tore my heart out with that ending. So that's all I'm going to say.
Well, kind of going back to Dennis McKiernan, you asked if he was still alive. As far as I can tell by looking up it, he is. He was born in 1932. So apparently he's in his 80s, but when you go to the Also Bots on Amazon, those of you who are interested, he's in the same categories like David Eddings, Terry Brooks, Raymond D. Feist, Margaret Weiss, and Tracy Hickman. I don't know why I called him Harry, and R.A. Salvatore or Salvatore, however you pronounce it. Yeah, they're on the same. They're on the same tier.
I think R.A. Salvatore has to be a little bit younger. I think because he came about in the. I think it was probably in his.
Yeah, well, I don't mean the age group. I mean in the release group. Yeah. Like in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, I think so.
I think you're right. I think he is quite a bit younger, but he's not in his 80s, obviously.
Yeah, and that's how I think William H. Keith is probably in his 80s if he's still alive. I mean, I don't want to give him an early grave, but I was looking him up, and he's pretty old. He's older.
Well, Dennis McKiernan was born in 32, so that has to put him at almost 90 probably. But it says he lives in Tucson, Arizona currently. So
yeah, surely they would have his
digits. It was on Wikipedia that I saw that, so they would have his death. I was sure if he did. Sorry, Mr. McKinnon.
No, that's good. Yeah. If we'd love to have you on the podcast. Come on.
We do not want you to be.
We want you to be
alive and still writing. I hope maybe.
Yes. Or even if you're not writing, we'd love to get some writing advice from you. We'd love to hear what he knew, what he learned from his time of pinning tales.
Right. Back in the days when the gatekeeper was like God of the publishing world, like we shall let you come in and publish your book.
Yeah, I mean, I know that I do know some people that are still like getting published in magazines. And writing, getting it's just hard to get Barnes and Noble Press even like to get you. I don't know.
Well, we could probably do a whole podcast on the difference between what we do and like the old school way of publishing, which is it's horrible. I'll put it that way. I don't want to be traditionally published.
I listened to a podcast by Brandon Sanderson.
It's horrible,
and it sounded like I know he wasn't trying to talk down to people, but it did sound a little bit like this. He was like, I want you to believe in your dreams, that you could do what I do, but I must tell you, it's not likely. It's not going to happen, most likely. So you better write for the love of it, because you're not going to get published ever.
Yeah.
And you're like, only, like he said, 1 out of 40 people that he went to class to, or like 2 out of 40 actually got published and are doing writing. But then I guess he might discount, indie authors. But there are many indie authors that are successful. They're
that are more successful than traditionally published.
Yeah, and you don't have to wait to get published. So I really appreciate my readers.
Yeah,
and
I appreciate mine as well.
Yours
yeah.
too. They're,
I want more of you. Be fruitful and multiply.
Share it with other people. Yes, exactly. Yeah, totally. So, what else do you have on your radar? We're coming close to the end here, I think.
Well, of course, this is not.
We have more we could always probably add, but I just have a short list right now.
I just have this really small book here that it's not very big. It's a biography on Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Edgar Allan Poe fan, in case none of you can figure that out by now. All these little tags in here. I use this book to write my master's thesis. So I have to give it credit. It's a critical biography of Edgar Allan Poe. It puts it dispelled a lot of rumors. But anyway, that probably isn't a book that the readers want to read, so I'll get something else. How about the Hunger Games?
Oh, really? That's a good book. So,
I mean, I don't need to explain what it's about, I guess. I don't know. I really don't have another one, in case you didn't. Just Poe.
Okay. Well, we'll put my last one up there. It's kind of like Edgar Allan Poe. We don't just read fantasy, and even though we like fantasy or, science fiction, one of my favorite all-time books is The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway, and I really love For Whom the Bell Tolls and The Old Man and the Sea. Maybe I'm a romantic because I love these stories.
For Whom the Bell Tolls. That's the one with the bullfighting, right?
No, that's The Sun.
That's The Sun Also Rises.
So
yeah.
For Whom the Bell Tolls. He's like, I think he's kind of the character is a deserter.
Oh,
and he meets
yeah,
this
and I remember.
And they fall in love, and they have this little bit of time of bliss, and then, like, I guess, I can't remember, the bell tolls for him, and he's gone.
The bell tolls for the...
The Sun Also Rises. Yes, the bell tolls for the... And I love The Old Man and the Sea, and it's a short read. I don't have a physical copy in front of me, but I made my girlfriend listen to it on audiobook after we first got together.
Well, if I'd known that, I would have done Steinbeck of Mice and Men. That's one of my favorite books, and it's a small book.
Yeah, I've read that too, but it's been a long time. That happens to do with the Great Depression.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, and it has the Lenny who's kind of mentally, disabled, and then the two they're working, and then misunderstanding and all that kind of stuff. That cat's trying to get under the door again.
Yeah. The Sun Also Rises. Okay, if Shadow comes in, let's get whatever. I don't care. But
she
did. I
did.
to say, The Sun Also Rises. She made it in.
I don't know how she does that.
Houdini. Well, anyways, The Sun Also Rises. I just want to say about The Sun Also Rises is it's got a really dark ending. And actually, when the first time I wrote it, I was really young, and I really didn't understand
read it? You said wrote it.
Okay. When I read it,
yeah.
Sorry.
I've read it.
My grammar sucks. Trust me. So I think it's about a guy whose dick got blown off in the war. That's a really crass way to say it. So he can't physically please a woman, but he's in love with this woman who's in love with him. That's really kind of totally ruining the book.
It's kind of surrounded by the bullfights, and there's a symbolism between this virility of the bulls and him not being.
And there's a guy who is like a total cad in the book, and he wrote this one character that's so annoying, and you just love to hate him. And then that girl that he loves gets with her for a little while. It's all this bullshit, and he's just frustrating. But I love the imagery. I just love how he wrote. I love how he described things. I don't know if you call that prose or dialogue, but just like there's another guy and he could write about the most simple thing, about somebody drinking a glass of wine or staying up and they're hungover, and it sounds interesting.
He's famous for using short, kind of to the point sentences is what he's famous for.
Yes,
but they're poignant sentences.
And I heard a quote by him. He said, "Editing is writing. Rewriting is writing."
Yeah.
Rewriting is writing. So sometimes if I'm sitting down at my computer and of course we don't type on typewriters like Ernest Hemingway.
Yeah. God. So thank God.
But I wouldn't know what to do
I
with
wouldn't
that.
either.
But yeah, but you know, like sometimes we sit here and I might just be rewriting something and like, oh, I'll go back over it and be like, you know, this could be a lot better, and I just, you know, flesh it out. Like sometimes I feel like I get stuck when I write and I go back and like, you know, the beginning of this needs to be fixed better, make it more exciting, or I need to throw this plot hole, plot thing. So, but I just thoroughly enjoyed his writing, and I guess a spoiler alert. I mean, he's definitely deceased. So,
yeah. He kind of.
He's a kind of a tragic person himself.
Yeah. He
but,
died the way we
really,
shall not be named.
shall not be
mentioned the way he passed away. Everybody knows.
Everybody knows. It's
The fate of a lot of authors, actually.
For whom the Bell Tolls is set during the Spanish Civil War.
Oh, yeah.
Actually drawing on his
I remember that now.
Of
yeah.
journalist. Yeah, and it has a theme is sacrifice, love, and camaraderie. I mean, he could talk about fishing, and it sounded exciting. You know what I'm saying? Catching fish and going somewhere with his friend. You know, that just... I don't know, how do you write about something that's so kind of like boring and it's still exciting when he writes it? So
The Old Man in the Sea. The shark eats the fish. Spoiler.
Yeah, that sucks too. God, you feel for that guy so bad. And the Cuban little boy who's like helping him, he's like so kind to him and loves him so much. He's like, it's okay. Well, tomorrow I'll go fishing for you, and I'll go with you, and I don't care what my father says. Damn him, I will go help you. You know. Yeah. So that's just such a good writer. Anyway, so he won a lot of Pulitzer Prizes, and he deserved it. But, you know, you probably studied in college. It's all good. But I just enjoyed it. I really enjoyed his writing, I guess, as a teenager. That was probably the time I read. So a lot of the things that I like, I read in my, like, you know, teenage years. They're still some of my favorites.
Yeah.
Weird.
Well, you know, I think everybody should at least read some of the classics. You know, you should read some Steinbeck. You should read some Hemingway. You should read some of that stuff. Now, the couple that I really kind of trudged through is, even though he has really great stories, I did kind of have a hard time with Dickens. And
yeah, that's a different language
style.
style.
And then of course, I don't know. I never liked The Great Gatsby. I just never liked that novel. I don't know why.
I liked it, but you know what I never could read is War and Peace.
Yeah, Tolstoy. I mean, kind of difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, I did read John Kerouac's...
I had to read that in college, in grad school.
Yeah. And you're like, this guy, like, he really
John
tested
Kerouac
the
out of his mind.
Being like a Rolling Stone. And it's funny because I have a friend of mine...
What was the other guy,
who was
McCarthy?
the
guy that wrote the other one that's similar to that? I forgot. It's not On the Road. It's something similar like On the Road, but... It's something McCarthy, and I can't think of his name. I had to look it up. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead and talk about On the Road.
No. I On the Road, you know, I have a friend of mine who's a really good friend of mine, and he's a kind of a hippie, but he's not like wasn't raised in a hippie. He was he's only like 4 or 5 years older than me, but I think he took too much drugs when he was younger or whatever, and he's really clean, doesn't drink or anything hardly ever now. But he every once in a while he would tell me something that's so weird and random. He would like, sometimes I just want to hop on a train and see where it goes, you know, and just like go from town to town. I'm like, I never think of doing that.
It's
like that is like never
that would be kind of cool as long as you have plenty of money. It's Cormac McCarthy, so I'm thinking of, and he wrote The Road, not On the Road. He wrote The Road, and he also wrote No Country for Old Men, and All the Pretty Horses.
The Road was that movie that the guy from Lord of the Rings played. Is it made into a movie? That was a very dark movie.
Yeah,
that was a dark.
When you said On the Road, I was thinking there's another road novel that's really popular, and it was.
Oh yeah.
I don't think they're anything like each other.
Like post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
Viggo Mortensen plays.
Yeah,
that.
On the Road is more like that the hippie counterculture, hate Ashbury kind of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like beatnik stuff, but they're just kind of going around living a wild life. Yeah.
Naked lunch.
Seems attractive, I guess, but then when you get to be about 40, it's really not that attractive.
And then okay. So
when you're 18 or so, it's acceptable, I guess, to be like a hip, you know, like to be like a beatnik, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you know, the going from town to town, not having any money, not knowing where you're going to eat next or sleep next. To me, that's not very appealing.
It's not very attractive. It's
If
not
I had
filling
plenty
me
of
at all.
money and I
It's
was
like
going to
that.
travel, that's a different story.
Yeah, but I wouldn't take a train like in an open
Yeah.
boxcar. I would
have no
just,
money and
just
no food.
drive
I'm just going to kind of...
have a Winnebago or something like that, you know, and an RV or something. I would like to do that. I want to see some places.
I might be eating berries
Well, I hope
in the
this has been-
backyard.
I hope this has been entertaining. I hope y'all feel entertained by us rambling about books that we like. So, I enjoy it. So
Are you not
hopefully you do as
entertained?
well. Yes. I like listening to some of the more random books that you've brought up today, like How Popcorn
Yeah.
Pops. You know?
Well, I like those because
That's
I'm
very
a
random.
very big fan of useless trivia. No one wants to ever play
Yeah.
me in Trivial Pursuit and stuff because I have all these little facts that nobody... because I read these
yeah.
little books that, tell about who Duncan Hines was and that...
Maybe you should go on Jeopardy. That might make
Maybe
some
so.
money.
Maybe so. I'm not that quick.
Yeah, if we can get
Not
you
that
on
quick
there.
with, they're quick on Jeopardy. Yeah, your mind has to be sharp.
Who is Edgar Allan Poe?
Oh
for
God, I would know if there was a
$5,000?
Poe category. I'd know everything about it. So
That'd be great. Yeah. And speaking of trivia, okay, the Bob Dylan movie
Yes,
is coming out on
yes.
Christmas. And you know what? I just found an article by Bob Dylan, and he says it's propaganda trash. He doesn't like.
Oh
the
really?
movie.
Like a rolling
Yeah.
stone.
Yeah, like a complete unknown. Once upon a time, dressed so fine, through bump down one time, wasn't you? People call and say, "Where are you?"
There's a movie out. This is kind of in the same vein. It's it's a movie that's been a long time ago, and I laugh at it so hard every time. It's a parody of all the music bio epics.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Dewey Cox. Have you ever seen Dewey Cox?
Oh yeah. I've
Oh
seen
my
that.
God, it's so
retarded.
hilarious. And they have a segment in there where Dewey Cox is going through his Bob Dylan
Bob.
phase.
Yeah. Look at the cat behind your head. That's just ironic. That's going to be the cover, I think, of this. That's going to be the screenshot of
That cat is
the background. I'm going to be like this, and you're going to be
that cat is evil.
Crazy.
I'm just letting everybody know.
That's funny. It's going to knock your
She is not.
diplomas down.
She
Ah,
is
hate
not
this
scared of
diploma.
anything.
Okay, so I was going to say this. Like you if you go see so you're a Edgar Allan Poe enthusiast, right? So you've probably read everything about him. So you've studied his life. See, that's how I feel about Bob Dylan. I mean, I've read a few Bob Dylan books. I know most of all of his songs. There's some rare stuff out there that I probably haven't listened to. He's got so many songs, but I know a lot of trivia about Bob Dylan. So I feel like going to this movie, I'm going to be disappointed because I'm a big fan of Bob Dylan. There's no way you can do it right enough for me. And it's not. It's probably an entertaining movie.
Well, it's kind of funny that Bob Dylan thinks it's trash. He's like, it's trash. Don't go watch
well, here's the
it.
thing. This is what I was thinking of. was you know that Bob Dylan sold his song royalties like 2 years ago?
Really?
He sold all
mean
of
his
it to
publishing?
Sony for 400. His publishing. He sold
Holy
his
cow.
publishing for $400 million, and he's like 85 or 88 right now. So he sold all his publishing for $400 million.
Wow.
So I'm guessing that somebody owns this publishing, and he's like, "Yo, we should make a Bob Dylan movie." Because they own the publishing, we can make some money off this.
Well, I
publishing,
think
eh?
people out there would be very, that don't know him very well, would be completely surprised at how
Entertained.
many songs he actually wrote.
Oh, yeah.
Not that he sang, but that other people sang. But he wrote them. I mean, I think they'd be surprised at all of them.
Yeah, like All Along the Watchtower, Jimi
Yeah.
Hendrix. Knocking on Heaven's Door, Guns
Yep.
N' Roses. What's that song? Wagon Wheel. That was him, believe it or not. That's a
Didn't he
country song
write
by whatever.
"Come Together" too, or was he? No, he didn't. He didn't write that.
Oh,
No,
I didn't
never
know.
mind. Never mind. I'm stupid.
Uh,
I
I know he.
knew that
yeah,
immediately.
I don't know, but I know that he.
Mr.
wrote
Tambourine Man.
Desolation
That's what I'm
Row.
thinking of.
Mr. Tambourine,
what I'm
yeah.
thinking
Mr. Tambourine was covered by the
Yeah,
Byrds.
not
you know.
not the other one I was mentioning. That.
Hey,
Tam-
Mr. Tambourine
Yeah,
Man.
I was getting that one
play a
mixed up
song
with
for me.
"Come Together." "Come Together" was not written by him.
That's the Beatles.
No, it was
I believe.
the
I
Turtles
believe
sang
that's
it, but it was somebody else that wrote it. It wasn't him.
Oh,
Yeah, but
really?
anyway,
Yeah.
oh, "Come Together" was the Beatles. Yeah, I'm talking about. Oh, what's the one I'm talking about? The Turtles sang.
The one with that revolution.
You and me,
the one,
and me and you.
Oh. No, I remember that song. I remember that song from Ernest Goes to Camp. Is what I remember that song from.
yeah, I'm showing my ignorance now. Yeah, "Come Together" is a Beatles song, and then the one I'm thinking of is the Turtles song. But anyway,
should we review that Bob Dylan
yeah,
movie?
I think we should. It's pop culture.
So I'm gonna try to. I'll probably see it soon.
Comes out Christmas Day, right?
I got a hookup for. I'm probably not gonna go see it on Christmas Day though. I got a hookup with free tickets, but I have to go the week after the release.
We can do that.
So that is kind of slow, but yeah. All right. Well, hey, I've enjoyed talking with you, Cleave, and I'm looking forward to our new podcast. We'll be starting next year called Cleave and Merick.
We're gonna take over the world.
That's a tentative title. Taking over the world.
We shall do it.
No. Yes, we'll try, but you know what they say: if you don't first succeed, you better not start at all.
Flop at the box.
Yes. Look, there's Riley going through, just like the cat.
Yeah, and here's my cat about to jump up on me.
All right, it's great. Hey, by the way, Merry Christmas, everybody!
Christmas.
I'm gonna try to have this out to everyone before Christmas.
Happy New Year!
So I got a lot of work to do. We got to patch it together and put it out. Maybe
we will see you next year.
See you next year, and maybe we'll have something before New Year's that we'll send to you too. Before then, we'll see. So, all right, well, take care. Right. Good luck on the writing on the next Guns and Grimoires book. I'm looking forward to reading it.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll talk to y'all. Later. Thanks for listening to the Merick NH Ulrik podcast. Please like and subscribe to this channel. We'll see you next week. Thank you.